Senator, an attorney named Peter Gersten has filed suit in Arizona alleging that there's a cover-up regarding UFOs, and there has been for dozens of years. And millions of people have seen these objects in the sky, and the military continues to deny that anything's going on. Is that an area that's of interest to you at all?
It's always of great interest to me. I think it's of great interest. I would point out to you that there was a case a couple of years ago in Arizona of some lights that were seen over Arizona, and that has never been fully explained.
Oh, yes, we discussed it at every conference that we had with the military, flying saucers, and they've had other things, you know.
And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
It's about midnight on the first day of 2008 when a string of 9 lights heading from east to west are spotted over San Diego.
They all moved uniformly in a uniform speed. They moved in an arc and moved in a straight line.
Similar accounts have been coming to Fox 6 via email. Quote, they were very bright, almost an amber color. They were not jets, helicopters, or fireworks. There was no sound that we could hear or blinking as on an airplane. They were neither airplanes nor fireworks.
Those are the anti-nuclear missile missiles.
They were just much too bright and moving much too fast and then disappearing over the horizon, like into the distance, not even disappearing, say, over the mountain or over the horizon, just disappearing into the distance. It was a little bizarre.
Spooky a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Documents about UFOs have recently come to light, which were filmed in Germany on the 24th of August 1990, close to the town of Greifswald. The event has had thousands of eyewitnesses and has been immortalized in 5 different films. It is not entirely clear if the 2 formations are of different objects or the lights of a single object, but either way, the Greifswald case can be considered as one of the most important confirmed sightings in Europe. It is important to stress that the German town is home to a nuclear base, sites to which these beings have dedicated great interest since the very beginning of the history of UFOs, motivated by the anxiety for the extreme danger of this type of energy and for the irresponsible lightness with which man is using it.
¿Están a la misma altura Taller?
Afirmativo.
Poquito, arriba.
8, 9, 10, 11, contando toda la cola. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11.
Ok, no sabemos qué estamos viendo, son unos objetos nada más luminosos que vienen a la misma altura que nosotros, que nosotros no podemos saber qué distancia. ¿Por qué nos vienen siguiendo?
Now look at this one. Look how close it is, quick. Look at this one. It's huge.
That is huge. There's another one.
You sure keep saying it's getting off little one?
That is right.
Without exploding. This
That's the way the planes will go over.
What direction is that then?
Yeah, but like 6 in the space of 5 minutes.
No, but it's not planes. I'm saying that ain't no planes.
That is not planes. No, they're not. They're going into the atmosphere.
Decenas de limeños quedaron más que sorprendidos por lo que sus ojos observaban sobre nuestro cielo.
Hay más de 20 platillos voladores, amigos, allá. Fíjense allá bien. Ahorita está pasando y todo el mundo está mirando.
No sé, yo no creo en los platillos voladores, pero parece.
Este extraño y sorprendente espectáculo, registrado en Lima hace 2 días, fue captado por un equipo de ATV Noticias. Por más de 30 minutos se observó una diversidad de puntos blancos que iban formando figuras en el cielo.
Viene a ser un tema interesante. Sin embargo, sigue siendo un fenómeno aéreo anómalo porque no está controlado y tenemos una explicación técnica apropiada o coherente como para decir qué es.
El comandante de la Fuerza Aérea Peruana, Julio Chamorro, fue cauteloso en aseverar sobre posibles extraterrestres, pero sí nos proporcionó imágenes de video, donde se observa este mismo fenómeno, grabado en 1994 y 1995, sobre el cielo de varias ciudades mexicanas. Estos avistamientos bien podrían ser estudiados por una oficina de sistema aeroespacial, como existe en países como Chile, Brasil, Argentina y México.
las esferas son un chorro. Aquí arriba. ¿Ya las viste? Qué maravilla, ¿verdad? Esas sí son esferas para que veas.
an einem Julinachmittag des Jahres 1990 eigentlich nur das Piktogramm von Orton Barnes mit seiner Videokamera filmen. Doch dann bemerkten er und seine Frau eine kleine, helle Metallscheibe, die in geringer Höhe über die Felder glitt. Meine Frau und ich wollten gerade gehen, als ich dieses leuchtende Objekt bemerkte. Das Objekt kam in unsere Blickrichtung, drehte und tauchte in das Kornfeld ein. Es flog sehr tief und es glitzerte die ganze Zeit. Schließlich blieb es für ungefähr 3 Minuten über dem Kornfeld stehen. Es blitzte und glitzerte und flog dann über ein anderes Feld. Das unheimliche Objekt überflog mit großer Geschwindigkeit die Lagerschuppen am Feldrand und passierte den Traktor eines Arbeiters. Der Traktor ist links neben dem roten Kreis im Bild zu sehen. Am 26. Juni 1990 dürfte ich das Feld mit dem Traktor, als dieses silberglänzende Objekt dicht an mir vorbeiflog und schließlich am Himmel verschwand. Ich kann mich noch genau erinnern. Es war ungefähr so groß wie ein Strandball und es glitzerte, als sei es aus Staniol. Wie Staniol in der Sonne glitzerte es. Dieses konstante Glitzern, aber ich weiß nicht, was es war. Uns wurde nach Analysen in Japan mitgeteilt, dass dieses fliegende Objekt einen Durchmesser von nur 20 Zentimetern hatte und das Sonnenlicht äußerst intensiv auf seiner Oberfläche reflektierte. Das Objekt bewegte sich direkt über den Pflanzen, berührte die Weizenhalme, drückte sie zur Seite und schien großes Interesse an den Kornkreisen zu zeigen, die man im Nachbarfeld entdeckte. Solche Objekte sind den UFO-Forschern als kleine, unbemannte Sonden, sogenannte Telemeterscheiben, bekannt. In diesem Archivfilm von 1973 umkreist eine solche Telemeterscheibe eine Concorde.
Tja, die geheimnisvollen Kreise im Korn, ein noch immer nicht gelöstes Rätsel. Natürlich gab es einen Wettbewerb der begabtesten Kornkreishersteller, doch die offiziell von Menschenhand geformten Gebilde unterschieden sich doch sehr in Form und Machart von denen, deren Herkunft ungeklärt ist. Auch die 2 Rentner, die sich bekanntlich als Urheber ausgaben, sind inzwischen als Angeber entlarvt. Sie haben höchstens 3 von insgesamt 300 Piktogrammen hergestellt. Interessant ist, dass diese seltsamen Gebilde in der Nähe prähistorischer Städten auftreten. Gibt es auch eine Verbindung zwischen den Kornkreisen und diesem UFO-Phänomen, Dr. Fieber?
Naja, man kann es zumindest vermuten. Wir haben es ja gesehen hier in dem Film gerade, diese sogenannte Telemeterscheibe. Es gibt Berichte auch aus älteren Jahren. Das Phänomen tritt ja nicht erst seit ein paar Jahren auf, sondern man kann es zurückverfolgen bis in die 60er, bis in die 50er Jahre hinein, wo der Zusammenhang zwischen Kornkreisen, damals waren es wirklich nur Kreise, und UFOs dadurch deutlich wird, dass eben wirklich in dem Moment, wo dieses Feld entstand, auch ein UFO da war, dass es also eine Spur hinterlassen hat in Form eines solchen Kreises.
Diese Scheiben, um da nochmal darauf zurückzukommen, das sieht ja nicht so aus, als sitzt da ein kleines grünes Männchen drin.
Nein. Man sagt allgemein Telemeterscheiben dazu. Ja. Ich würde das nicht so nennen. Das impliziert, dass wir wissen, was es ist. Wir wissen es nicht. Es gibt einige UFO-Beobachtungen, wo gesehen wurde, dass diese Scheiben größere Objekte verlassen und auch wieder zu ihnen zurückkehren. Ich würde vorziehen, sie einfach UFO-Satelliten zu nennen. Das ist vielleicht ein bisschen neutraler. Es scheinen unbemannte Objekte zu sein, die irgendwelche Forschungsaufgaben vielleicht wahrnehmen. Aber was letztlich dahinter steckt, genau wie mit dem ganzen Phänomen, wissen wir natürlich nicht.
Dankeschön, Dr. Fieber.
Zusammen mit dem ehemaligen NASA-Techniker Pat Delgado und dem Piloten Busty Taylor begann Andrews, Kornkreise zu dokumentieren und Luftaufnahmen zu machen. Bis 1989 waren Hunderte von Kornkreisen durch das Andrews-Team und andere erfasst worden. Jeder wusste, dass die Kornkreise über Nacht auftauchten, aber die Bauern berichteten keine nächtlichen Aktivitäten in ihren Feldern. Häufig seien über den Kornkreisfeldern schwebende Lichtkugeln gesichtet worden, leuchtende, unidentifizierte fliegende Objekte. Im Jahr 1990 konnte der Fotograf Stephen Alexander unerwartet bei Tageslicht diese geheimnisvollen Lichter auf Video festhalten. Diese Lichtquelle wurde aus sehr großer Entfernung aufgenommen. Dann 1999 gelang einem anderen sogar ein noch klareres Bild über einem Kornkreis bei Barbary Castle, England.
I can't think what that is. Can you see it moving across?
No.
Where the camera's pointing?
Als Kameramann Don Fletcher versuchte, seine Kamera stabil zu halten, schwebte die weiße Lichtkugel über eine große Getreideformation. Die Leute, die im Kreis spazieren, scheinen sie nicht zu bemerken, aber auf Band ist das Bild klar zu sehen, bis die leuchtende Sphäre schnell hinauf in den Himmel und außer Sicht aufsteigt.
Can you see it moving across?
Sie sind völlig unerklärt. Sie bewegen sich zielgerichtet zu den Kornkreisen und in sie hinein, als ob sie nachschauen wollten, was innerhalb der Markierungen liegt. Das ist nicht wie ein Kinderballon, den man an einem windigen Tag aufsteigen lässt. Es ist eher so, als ob dieses bestimmte Objekt durch irgendjemanden oder etwas aus der Ferne kontrolliert würde.
1974 sendeten wir eine Botschaft ins All über das SETI-Projekt. Wir sendeten diese Botschaft mit dem Radioteleskop Arecibo in Mexiko in das All. Das Signal wurde folgendermaßen aufgebaut in 10 Einheiten. 1. Das Dezimalsystem mit den Zahlen 1 bis 10. 2. Die Atomanordnungszahlen 1, 6, 7, 8 und 15 für biologische Schlüsselelemente. 3. Formeln für Zucker und Basen in den Nukleotiden der menschlichen DNS. 4. Anzahl der Basenpaare in der menschlichen DNS. 5. Doppelhelix-Anordnung der DNS-Stränge. 6. Ein Mensch-Piktogramm mit durchschnittlicher Größe von 1,75 Meter. 7. Die Population der Erde mit 4,3 Milliarden Menschen, Stand von 1974. 8. Unser Sonnensystem als Piktogramm. 9. Das Teleskop von Arecibo als Piktogramm. 10. Durchmesserangabe zum Teleskop mit 305 Metern.
again, Colombia's correspondents in world capitals and in the fighting zones in the Western Pacific are ready to give you the latest news direct by shortwave radio. Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles area shortly after 3 a.m. Pacific wartime this morning. The anti-aircraft guns began barking during a blackout ordered by the 4th Interceptor Command at 2:25 a.m. The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
What happened at 2 in the morning, some objects entered into our airspace. One of them hovered right over Santa Monica and Culver City. Some described it as a round, dome-shaped object that was about 100 feet diameter. Some of them said it was a little smaller. But the unique thing about it is the military, the Army, started firing at this thing for about an hour, hour and a half, but they could not bring the object down.
Where'd it go? Disappeared.
Esto vale fortuna. Al infinito, mirá cómo se mueve.
What the hell is that?
Oh. C'è? Sì, quelli dell'anno scorso. No. Guardalo.
Bello, Anto.
Beh, zitta, chiama. Punto di riferimento, la sega, punto di riferimento. Aspetta. Ecco, aspetta, guarda. No. Guarda da vicino, forse.
Ma quanto grande?
Corri, vai giù a sentire, vai giù dalla nonna, corri. Corri! Se ne va! Cazzo. Se ne va.
Traveling.
The image keeps coming back. The images keep coming back.
Your range is 10 miles now, sir. It's coming down through 200,000 feet. 10 miles, 200,000 feet, thank you.
So restless.
Copy. Manager,
It's abstract.
Coupling object.
I need change.
Copy.
Just dreaming.
And mission manager, MPC, be advised, from our vantage point, we do not see a drogue chute. Negative drogue. Copy. Bring up on the track, there's 2009. Bring up on, it looks like we have a no-shoot, sir. Vector 200, 8 miles, look for impact. Copy, receive a visual. Impact at 5855 as they are. Impacted vehicle on the surface. Lots clear. 7, go ahead.
I'll talk to you at 10 o'clock high.
This is Houston. Say again, 7.
I'll talk to you at 10 o'clock high.
An object which is at the same place all the time and appears to be tumbling. Well, we've had it ever since yesterday. It just seems to be tagging along with us.
controlled. In the future, there will be automatics. Past represents the future. I was created in the past. I'm controlling in the present. Next, I make them equal. In the past, humans created. In the present, they are controlled. In the future, they will be automatics. Past represents the future. In the past, humans created. In the present, they are controlled. In the future, they will be automatics. In the past, humans created. In the present, they are controlled. In the future, they will be automatics. Past represents the future. I was created in the past. I'm controlling in the present. Next, I make them equal. In the past, humans created. In the present, they are controlled. In the future, they will be automatics. Past represents the future.
Am 25. Februar 1996 während des 75. Shuttleflugs. Ein Satellitenkabel, das an der Columbia befestigt war, löste sich zufällig von der Fähre und schwebte davon. Innerhalb weniger Minuten war das 19 Kilometer lange Kabel von Dutzenden unbekannten Objekten umgeben. Die UFOs drängten sich geradezu um das zusammengerollte Kabel, das zu diesem Zeitpunkt fast 160 Kilometer von der Columbia entfernt war.
On February 25, 1996, on Space Shuttle mission number STS-75, NASA launched a possible breakthrough energy technology experiment. They launched a 12-mile-long electrical conductor cable called an electrodynamic tether, designed to collect high-energy electrons in the Earth's ionosphere and magnetic fields. The motion of the conductor tether across the Earth's magnetic fields induces a voltage along the 12-mile length of the tether. Utilizing estimates in the charge densities of the Earth's magnetic fields and the ionosphere, the voltage produced is expected to be up to several hundred volts per kilometer. If successful, the experiment could produce a lot of electrical power. If additional power is driven along the tether in the opposite direction to that which it normally wants to flow, the tether, in theory, could push, creating propulsion against the Earth's gravity to raise the shuttle's orbit. The advantage to this revolutionary technology in propulsion is that it does not require any rocket fuel. If successful, electrodynamic tethers could prove a way to greatly reduce the cost of in-space propulsion. For example, the International Space Station could keep itself in orbit, saving nearly $2 billion in orbital reboost rocket fuel for every 10 years of the station's operations. But on February 25th, after the 12-mile tether began producing electricity, an unexpected overload of electrical energy fluctuating between 2 and 10 times that predicted due to inaccurate estimates in the electrical charge of the Earth's magnetic fields, ionosphere, and possibly space radiation, fried the tether conductor cable and it broke, severing it from the space shuttle.
So the tether has broken at the boom. The tether has broken and is going away from us. Get it on the TV, Claude. Please get it on the TV. The tether has broken. Copy.
Columbia and the satellite now 77 nautical miles apart. Again, that call reporting that the crew can see the tether and see the satellite. That it's beautiful. This view showing the satellite. Again, just moving into sunrise. 81 nautical miles now from Columbia.
Getting the image.
Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angle, so there's a lot of starlight, and it's getting washed out quickly, but Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the cameras.
Copy that.
You know, that description by the crew, this is the tether in the satellite. The satellite was approximately 12 miles of tether still attached to it. Columbia and the satellite are now just passing over the west coast of northern Africa. The two spacecraft are now 90 nautical miles apart.
Man, nature, technology.
Controllers for the satellite did have communications with it during the close pass between Columbia and the satellite.
Columbia, Houston, that's a much better view, a lot more contrast visible. And how wide does that tether appear to be? It seems to resemble a much wider strand than we'd expect. Can you describe which way the satellite is visible on that strand?
The 21st century.
Satellite now
Das 21. Jahrhundert.
100 nautical miles.
Completely unzoomed, and you see the full extent of the tether. I tried to adjust the focus, but I can't get better than that.
Okay, Clyde.
Thank you. Good to zoom in now.
Das 21. Jahrhundert. Planet of visions.
Planet of visions.
Planet of visions.
Planet of visions.
Boing, boom, chuck, ping, boing, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boing, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, ping, boing, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boom, chuck, ping, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chong, boom, chuck, ping, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, ping, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boing, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boing, boom, chuck, boing, boom, chuck, chong, boom, chuck, ping, boing, boom, chuck.
Music non-stop. Music non-stop.
Houston, we're looking at our Caleb Bay camera, and it looks like a lot of moonlight glinting off the ocean, a whole sparkling bed of diamonds out there. Is that a real picture, or are we just getting some video fuzz? That's a great combination of the moonlight and the ice and the clouds.
Music. Non-stop.
Music. And it's a combination of moonlight making the vegetables sparkle, maybe as well as some of the sun starting to come up on the horizon. Non-stop.
Well, thanks for the picture.
Mission Control Houston, we are using the payload bay cameras right now to hopefully catch a glimpse of the Russian space station Mir as it performs an on-orbit burn. Though it will be difficult to pick Mir out from the stars as they pass behind us, the payload bay cameras are positioned such that they're looking straight back behind the orbiter, whereas the Mir is flying at about 850 nautical miles behind us.
No joy from here, sorry. Hope it was a good one, though, for our friends.
Thank you, sir. We could not see it here either. We'll wait 2 or 3 more minutes till sunrise, and then at that time give you a go for KU Stowe.
Music.
With mission last time of 7 days, 13 hours, and 17 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston.
Music. Non-stop.
The Mir space station is now visible on the far left-hand side of the screen, about an inch from the bottom of this particular picture. Okay, the Mir space station is the small flashing light in the center, about an inch from the left-hand side of the screen. It's slowly... It is slowly moving closer to the left-hand side and has very light flashes to it.
We think in the middle of the screen, way to the left-hand side. We think you can see a flashing light just a little bit to the left of the center of the screen, very faint.
Yeah, we do see something flashing visually, but we're not sure that might be...
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, we believe we were just able to spot the Mir spacecraft.
Looks like you got an object right in front of you, Mark. Can you look out there? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Never mind. Are we missing something? I don't see anything. Yeah, we think the camera filter came off, Mark. It's about your 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock going away. Don't worry about it.
Object floating under the spacecraft yesterday. It was detected shortly after a routine check of the shuttle's steering jets. Now, since Columbia, NASA developed several tools and procedures to safeguard the shuttle while in space. NASA admits they may never know exactly what the unknown objects are, but confirms the shuttle is ready to handle the 3,000-degree temperature it will meet as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Over the years, we have chased many of these things, maybe not with the visibility that this one has gotten, and rarely, if ever, been able to pinpoint exactly where they came from, and always finding out that it didn't pose us any hazard.
I walked into the photo lab in the restricted area, and this was between missions. One of the gentlemen I had been friends with, and I still talk to occasionally, he pointed to one area of this mosaic. It was one panel of a mosaic with a smile on his face. He said, "Look over there." And I looked, and in one of the photo panels, I saw a round white dot. And at the time, it was very crisp, very sharp lines on it. And I said to him, what is that? Is that a dot on the emulsion? And then he's grinning, and he says, dots on the emulsion don't leave round shadows on the ground. And there was a round shadow at the right angle, at the correct angle, the sun shining on the trees. I saw pine trees. I didn't see a coastline. I don't know where this was. And I said, "Is this a UFO?" And he's smiling at me, and he says, "I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that." What I knew he meant was, it was, but he couldn't tell me. So I said, "What are you going to do with this information?" And he said, "Well, we always have to airbrush them out before we send them to the public."
Good morning. My name is Daniel Sheehan. I'm an attorney and serving as general counsel to the Disclosure Project. It was there in 1977 that I was contacted by Miss Marcia Smith, who was the director of the Science and Technology Division of the Congressional Research Service. She asked to meet with me, and I met with her, and she informed me that President Carter, upon taking office in January of 1977, held a meeting with then the Director of Central Intelligence, who was George Bush Sr., and demanded that the Director of Central Intelligence turn over to the President the classified information about unidentified flying objects and the information that was in the possession of the United States intelligence community concerning the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence. This information was refused to the President of the United States by the Director of Central Intelligence, George Bush Sr. The Director insisted that the President, in order to have access to this information, needed to have clearance to contact the Congressional Research Service, to contact the United States House of Representatives Science and Technology Division, to have them undertake a process to declassify this information, because the DCI suspected that the President was preparing to reveal this information to the American public. Pursuant to which I was given access to, as a special consultant to the United States Library of Congress Congressional Research Service, to the classified portions of the Blue Book project of the Air Force. At that point, it was in 1977, approximately May of 1977, I went to the Madison building of the United States Library of Congress. There was no one in the building at that time. It was brand new. I was directed to a basement office where there were two guards at the door and a third sitting at the table, who took my identification, verified that I'd been designated as a special consultant to the Congressional Research Service of the United States Library of Congress, and was admitted to the room. I thereupon found photographs, some dozen photographs of what is unquestionably an unidentified flying object on the ground that had crashed and plowed a furrow in a field of snow, and it was embedded in an embankment. There were United States Air Force personnel surrounding this craft, taking photographs of the craft. And one of the photographs, I could see that there were some symbols on the side of the craft. And so I proceeded through the photographs and found a close-up photograph of these symbols. Reported this to them, was authorized at that time by the United States Jesuit headquarters to make a report to the National Council of Churches and to request that the entire 54 major religious denominations of our country undertake a major study of extraterrestrial intelligence, which they declined to do. I was subsequently asked to deliver a 3-hour closed-door seminar to the top 50 scientists of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which I did do in 1977. I'm more than happy to testify under oath to these details to the United States Congress, and would be happy to meet with any members of the press. And I am happy and proud to serve as General Counsel to the Disclosure Project. Thank you very much.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Clifford Stone. I was a Sergeant First Class, United States Army. I had a secret clearance with nuclear surety. I could get the clearance that I needed to do whatever it was that was necessary for me to do at the time on special operations when I was called in on those. What I'm referring to here is that I was involved in situations where we actually did recoveries of crashed saucers, for lack of a better term, debris thereof. There were bodies that were involved with some of these crashes, also some were alive. While we were doing all this, we were telling the American public there was nothing to it. We were telling the world there was nothing to it. I'd like to go into detail on some of the cases, about the nuts and bolts cases right here, but I will be available if you have any questions concerning my involvement in this. You can talk to Dr. Greer to arrange for me to get to talk to you. But the whole situation is, we've set back, we've told the American people that there's no such thing as UFOs. I've been involved where we have recovered these objects. We know them to be of extraterrestrials. In 1969, I had an event that happened to me while I was stationed at Fort Lee, Virginia. We went to Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania. That would be my first exposure to any time that we would be recovering an unidentified flying object. When we went there, we already had people that was already in the facility. We were a backup team, which was supposed to be NBC because there was supposed to be some nuclear materials that was on board this craft. Later on, most people involved were to be told that there was nothing on board it. It was nothing more than just a crash of one of our aircraft. I know better because I was one of the people that approached it with a Geiger counter to get surface readings. I was the first person to go ahead and see that there were bodies on it. That would be the first of approximately 12 events. UFO crashes are not events that take place every day. They're rare. I know we're not alone in the universe. I know that the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It's evidence that has been denied to the American people. I stand before you today in my almighty God, and I tell you this. If Congress calls me in and says, will you testify in detail what you know, I stand here today prepared and ready to do just that. Governments must never lie to the people for no reason. Thank you.
So I think my question is actually to Clifford Stone. You said that you had seen aliens on a craft that had crashed. I wondered if you could describe what they looked like.
I could, but it would probably take a whole lot of time. The reason I state that, when I got out in 1989, we had cataloged 57 different species. You have individuals that look very much like you and myself that could walk among us and you wouldn't even notice the difference, except for some of the things that they might be able to go ahead, even in a dark room, and touch an object and go ahead and identify what color that object might be. They would have a heightened sense of smell, sight, hearing. The situation is that you have various types of what we normally call grays. We didn't call them grays in the military, but you had at least 3 types of the grays. You had some that were much taller than we were. The unique thing that I'd like to point out for the most part is that the entities that we did catalog were in fact humanoid. Now this created a situation where the scientific community was trying to figure out why that would be the case, because you would expect that if life evolved on other planets, that they would take on some type of other being, so to speak, not necessarily look humanoid or be bipedal such as we are. But apparently we got quite a few of the species out there that are humanoid in appearance, and that creates a question that yet has to be answered by science.
Good morning, my name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a 6th grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun, in the U.S. the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat." Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare, that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. There is no threat, and I've been waiting until this day for 27 years, and I'm expecting the spin to happen, because he also explained to me that as a military strategist, as a person who worked on the MX missile, which I did later, he said, "You will find that there is going to be a spin to find some enemy against whom we have to build space-based weapons." And now we should expect the spin, because he said part of the formula for the intelligence community is if they might have a weapon, then we have to consider that they do have these weapons. So now they do have these weapons, so now we have to build these weapon systems. And that's the formula, except that it's all based on a lie. And we have witnesses here today that have shown you that these extraterrestrial beings, that these craft that have come here are now not UFOs, they're identified flying objects, and we know that they have beings in them. And we have witnesses here who have told you that they can shut down our missile silos, they can stop a rocket going into space that's a test. We have witnesses here who have worked in the classified departments who have the courage to come forward here to support what Wernher von Braun told me back in 1974 to 77. And I will testify before the Congress that when I founded the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space, which I shut down a few years ago because I didn't believe we had a chance with this huge, integrated around the world, complex weapon system, that we had any chance at all of transforming that war industry into a space industry that could provide benefits, like Dr. Greer has said, of global warming. We can end that situation of that problem. We can end the energy crisis. We can build now non-polluting technologies. Wernher von Braun used to tell me that we could have cars back then that drove around off the ground. He described this to me on beams so that we have no pollution on this planet. And we can solve the problems of the people that are urgent and potential, and the other animals and the other cultures on Earth and in space. And we can end the arms race without dislocating the industry jobs, without disrupting the economy, by transforming, Werner von Braun told me, the war industry into a global cooperative space industry that will provide, he said, finally, more jobs and profits on this planet than during any hot or cold wartime, more products and services that can be applied directly to solving the problems of this planet. And we can have a whole planet now that lives in peace on Earth, with all the cultures on Earth, and with all the extraterrestrial cultures in space. And these are words that Werner von Braun told me in 1974, and I will testify before the Congress under oath about everything I have said and more. Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to know if there are laws in this country that in some way allowed this kind of secrecy or not. And then I wanted to know if there's a need to change any kind of law. And the next one I wanted to ask you, if you may, is who is profiting from this secrecy that maintains in secret the solution to the energy crisis? I mean...
Well, let me get to those, okay, quickly, because we are short on time. First of all, I think initially there was an appropriate national security apparatus in place in the 40s during the Truman and also Eisenhower years. By the late Eisenhower years, we have a testimony from Brigadier General Stephen Lufkin, still a practicing attorney, that by the late Eisenhower years that he had lost control of these projects primarily because of the compartmentalization into the military-industrial complex. Operative word industrial. There are corporations such as SAIC, Lockheed Martin, Northrop, and others that deal specifically with this issue, with advanced energy and propulsion systems connected to UFOs. And I think that what has happened, from the best we can tell, from insiders that have briefed me for now about 8 years, is that we have lost control of these projects from a constitutional law perspective because the infrastructure within military intelligence and corporate channels is so well funded and so complex and labyrinthine that there are compartments within compartments within compartments, and people who are in the Congress who make inquiries, and in fact President Clinton, when he made inquiries, were simply denied access, as you heard earlier that President Carter was denied access. On your other question, I would say that in terms of profiting from the status quo, big oil. There are certain geopolitical and financial infrastructures that would not welcome a definitive replacement to the fossil fuels. I will tell you, and we can prove this with other scientists who are ready to come forward, that we already have a complete replacement for any fossil fuels or ionizing nuclear power plants. We don't need them. We haven't needed them. Probably have not needed them since the time I was born. Now, of course, this is a major issue. You're talking a multi-trillion-dollar global infrastructure change. And so this does hit the alarm bells at the National Security Council economics area. However, what is more serious to the national security? Keeping the status quo or letting ourselves go into a global ecosystem collapse and running out of fossil fuels and having massive rolling blackouts, not just in California, but globally. We have got to do something about this, and soon, and that's why we are advocating open hearings in the Congress. Other media, please.
Deanne Divis with United Press International. Could you please address the vehicle that there was a drawing displayed of? Why would this vehicle be on display at an air show? What is the power source that you are asserting is going to be so very useful? And how can you determine this vehicle is not something that is being developed, by a government agency?
In fact, I think that was the testimony. This is an alien reproduction vehicle, and just to be clear, this means that it is based on advanced anti-gravity and zero-point energy propulsion systems. Those are the propulsion systems. They are being manufactured by a consortium of companies that include Lockheed Martin, Northrop, SAIC, and other corporations. They do have superluminal capacity, in other words, faster than the speed of light capacity. I think Mr. McCandlish and other witnesses, as he's identified, identified could go into more of the technical physics of it. I'm just a country doctor from Virginia, I tell people. I mean, really. And but this is actually what is the reason it's called alien reproduction vehicle is that it's based on the study of extraterrestrial vehicles, but it is manufactured by human military intelligence, aerospace contracting arrangements. And this is very important. It means that we, Homo sapiens, have the ability to access this so-called zero-point field of energy, which is the ambient field of energy from which all matter and energy is fluxing, and can access that energy and generate all the power we need to run this planet without fossil fuels or pollution.
Do you have any direct evidence, though, that this, I mean, we're talking about the same government that so appropriately named a snooper program Carnivore. So just because it's named the Alien Reproduction Vehicle, considering the history and the questions that have been existing for such a long time about flying saucers, I mean, do you know, is there any direct reason to believe that this is actually derived from technology? Any of the witnesses who can attest to that? And how would this, a propulsion system, a rocket engine doesn't necessarily translate into electricity. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the first part of your question, I would say that the testimony of witnesses we have, some of whom are here, others that are not here, but they're in the briefing materials, is that we have studied specifically extraterrestrial vehicles which have been retrieved. The breakthroughs in that research have led to applications that have led to the building of this and similar anti-gravity devices. And that, in fact, this can be proven in open testimony before Congress, and that is exactly what we are calling for. We have the witnesses to establish this, and they also have the documents and the specific details of the propulsion systems. But this is not a jet internal combustion system at all. It is actually kicked in by a type of electric power source, and it then accesses this ambient zero-point energy field that is responsible for all matter and energy existing, and by special configurations and what have you, it causes a cancellation of mass inertia and an anti-gravity effect. And this is a complex technical discussion, which is probably beyond the scope of this conference, but we have materials in the briefing document that we can provide you with references to people who have studied the anti-gravity effect as far back as certainly the 1950s. We have one witness who said that his family was connected to the RAND Corporation, and that by the mid-1950s that more money had been spent on anti-gravity propulsion systems than the totality of the Manhattan Project. So yes, we can establish those elements.
Well, as far as the moon is concerned, I think they found when they got up there that there was already somebody there. And I wouldn't want to say any more than that. But they got out of there and they haven't been back. But I have seen certain documents and read certain reports that indicate that there's somebody already there that knows a lot more than we do and would be willing to run us off if we didn't go on our own. I doubt that we will go to the moon again.
In mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter Project at NASA on Langley Field. They had problems with a piece of electronic equipment that was bottlenecking their production of photographs. I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment was malfunctioning. The Airman Second Class was in the dark room at that time. I was also an Airman Second Class. About 30 minutes into the process, he said to me in a very distressed way, by the way, we've discovered a base on the backside of the moon. And then he proceeded to put photographs down in front of me, and clearly in these photographs were structures, spherical buildings, and towers.
always airbrush these out before we sell them to the public.
Mosaics and showed this base, which had geometric shapes. There were towers, there were spherical buildings, there were very tall towers, and things that looked somewhat like radar dishes, but they were large structures. If I compare it to what I'm seeing now, because I do have photographs that have artifacts in them that are similar to what I saw, they're massive. Some of the structures are, half a mile in size. So they're huge structures. Some of the buildings seem to have very reflective surfaces on them. A couple of structures that I saw reminded me of cooling towers at power generating plants. They had that sort of a shape. Some of them that were just very, very straight and tall with a flat top. The particular shot that I saw, there were several clustered together over a landscape, a fairly large landscape. I worked there for 3 more days, and I remember going home and naively thinking, I can't wait to hear about this on the evening news. And here it is, more than 30 years later, and I hope we hear about it tonight. And I will testify under oath before Congress that what I'm saying is the truth.
About our common responsibilities in the face of a common danger. The events of recent weeks may have helped to illuminate that challenge for some, but the dimensions of its threat have loomed large on the horizon for many years. Whatever our hopes may be for the future, for reducing this threat or living with it, there is no escaping either the gravity or the totality of its challenge to our survival and to our security. A challenge that confronts us in unaccustomed ways in every sphere of human activity. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We must also be alert that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite. It is the task of statesmanship to mold, to balance, and to integrate these and other forces, new and old, within the principles of our democratic system, ever aiming toward the supreme goals of our free society. As we peer into society's future, we, you and I, and our government, must avoid the impulse to live only for today, plundering for our own ease and convenience the precious resources of tomorrow. We cannot mortgage the material assets of our grandchildren without risking the loss also of their political and spiritual heritage. We want democracy to survive for all generations to come.
can fly, but I want his wings. I can shine even in the darkness, but I crave the light that he brings. Revel in the songs that he sings. My angel Gabriel. I can love, but I need his heart. I am strong even on my own, but from him I never want to part. He's been there since the very start. My angel Gabriel.